My best friend cheated on her husband and caught his virus. Lynn and I were college classmates and roommates. We both majored in accounting. We had been very close since college, doing manicures together, eating late-night snacks, traveling, and often chatting about family, crushes, life insights, and the future. There was nothing we didn't talk about. We once promised to be lifelong best friends, sisters for life. After graduation, we were lucky enough to both join the same state-owned enterprise in the finance department, continuing our close friendship from college. We rented a place together, our work went smoothly, and we felt no pressure. Relatives and friends around us kept urging us to find partners, and the aunties at work were also eager to introduce us to potential matches. The company's senior sister introduced me to a friend's child named Zachary, an electrical engineer at a foreign company. At first, we connected on WeChat, sharing internet jokes, hobbies, and work stories, all of which I would faithfully share with Lynn. A few weeks later, Zachary and I arranged our first in-person meeting at a restaurant, and I invited Lynn to come along with me. There was a funny mix-up on the spot, he happily said to Lynn, finally meeting a beauty, the gorgeous Rachel. Indeed, if the two of us appeared together, Lynn would be instantly recognized as the beauty, while I fall into the lively and cute type. Guys would probably all prefer someone like Lynn. No wonder he mistook Lynn for me. Lynn blushed, and I felt a bit awkward. Since we hadn't seen each other's photos before, and I also post pictures on social media, it was understandable that he didn't recognize me. Handsome guy, you got it wrong. I'm Lynn, she's Rachel. Zachary was exactly as the older sister described, over 1.8 meters tall, well-proportioned, handsome features. Throughout the meal, my heart was pounding and I spoke little. He was a refined, intelligent man who also had a great sense of atmosphere. He told us that his colleagues all called him Engineer Zachary, and we could call him that too. He called me Rachel and called her Lynn. Lynn was the active member in this situation, enthusiastically helping me keep an eye on things, looking every bit like an elder, constantly probing Zachary's true feelings. Her manner made me laugh. Engineer Zachary, how many girlfriends have you had before? What do you like about Rachel? The two of them exchanged questions and answers, and the scene touched me deeply. I knew I liked Zachary. He was witty, ambitious, and looked okay. But I was afraid I might lose myself in infatuation, so Lynn's behavior felt very considerate. From now on, if she ever looks for a partner, I'll make sure to carefully evaluate her choice too. After that, Zachary and I began our sweet daily romance. Many times, I dragged Lynn along, and she was happy too. We formed a little trio. Neither Zachary nor I ever felt Lynn was a third wheel. Instead, she was our love mentor. When we argued, she patiently counseled each of us, especially me, giving me a sense of security. On the first anniversary of our relationship, Zachary arranged a commemorative photo shoot. When we arrived at the studio, I noticed the hallway was transformed into a memory lane, with walls covered in photos from our first meeting to important moments tracing the path of our love. Of course, Lynn was in the pictures too, the witness to our romance. At the end of the corridor were 99 balloons and a sea of rose lights. Zachary proposed, placing a veil on my head before dropping to one knee. Rachel, I know I'm not perfect, but I will strive to be the 100 points in your heart. Will you let me upgrade from boyfriend to lifelong comrade? On the road ahead, I want to continue being your harbor, your support, as your husband, sharing the rest of our lives together. I looked around in a panic. Lynn appeared out of nowhere, holding flowers and a ring, walking toward me. Her gaze made me feel that the future married life was trustworthy and worth investing in. I nodded in agreement, and the photographer captured this beautiful moment just in time. I was very happy, and Lynn also had a suitor she was very satisfied with. After the wedding, I moved out of the small rented place Lynn and I shared and into the marital home. After the wedding, Lynn and I spent less and less time together. It always felt like my best friend wasn't as close as before. One day after work, Lynn said to me, "Rachel, I want to move to a new place. After you moved out, I've been so lonely by myself. Is there anything near your neighborhood? Keep an eye out for me, please. I was very happy that Lynn could move nearby. I hoped our trio could be together again. If Lynn ended up with that admirer, we could still gather around a table for mahjong. I eagerly started asking the property management and neighbors. Then I found a small one-bedroom apartment in the community. On moving day, Zachary and I went to help. Lynn is a great cook, and in her new rented place, she prepared a full table of dishes for us. We all enjoyed the communal meal thoroughly. Lynn also came to my house often. Sometimes she would help clean, or sometimes she'd buy some crayfish and invite us to eat together. She came and went frequently, and she even knew my house code. One day, there was an issue with the accounts at a subsidiary of the company. The leadership asked our finance department to send someone to the headquarters to assist with the investigation. Lynn suggested that I volunteer. She said since I'm married and don't have kids yet, I should strive to advance, ideally becoming a junior leader. Otherwise, once I have children, I won't have time to focus on work. I thought her advice was quite sensible, but I was also a bit worried. Lynn, what if I'm not at home? What about Zachary? He's been living at his parents' place before, so he didn't have to worry about meals. Although I'm not much of a cook either, I do make sure he goes out to eat. Don't worry about that. He's a grown man, he's not going to starve. I can cook, it's just about making a bit more food. You eat plenty yourself anyway. She seemed to have a point, so I took the initiative to apply for the transfer. Zachary understood my reasoning and supported me, even assuring me he could take good care of himself. The problems at the subsidiary were quite complicated. Every day, I was overwhelmed by data reports, completely frazzled, and I even forgot I had a husband at home. At first, whenever he called, I was either in a meeting or crunching numbers. Eventually, he stopped bothering me. Occasionally, when I remembered to ask how he was, he'd say he was eating well, sleeping well, and that I didn't need to worry. What was supposed to be a week's work ended up taking almost a month. After submitting the work report and getting it approved, I hurriedly grabbed my laptop and suitcase and rushed to the airport overnight to fly home. Since my flight was late at night, I didn't notify Zachary to pick me up. I got off the plane at 5 a.m. and, stepping out of the airport, I saw the faint light of dawn peeking in the distance. I was thrilled, my heart roaring finally, the hard-working ox was home. I took a taxi to the entrance of the residential complex and, out of habit, bought breakfast for 3 people, including one for Lynn, thinking I'd bring it to her later. Although I hadn't slept all night, my spirits were high. I opened the coded door, the house was quiet. I changed my shoes and noticed an extra pair of women's high heels on the shoe rack. Were they mine? Or Lynn's? I was puzzled. I set down the breakfast and suitcase, then went to wash my hands in the bathroom. Unexpectedly, I found a tangle of chestnut-colored long hair in the sink. Lynn's hair color. I fell silent for a few seconds before walking out. The moment I stepped out of the bathroom, the master bedroom door opened, and Lynn, with her chestnut long hair, came out, her eyes heavy with sleep. I noticed she was wearing my silk nightgown. I was stunned. What was going on? Wasn't Zachary home? Rachel, why are you back? Lynn, why are you coming out of the master bedroom? Where's Zachary? There was a tone of accusation in my voice. Then I heard sounds of someone getting up inside the room, and Zachary appeared at the door. Rachel, it's not what you think. I've had a high fever these past 2 days and felt really awful. Lynn came over to take care of me. Then why are you two sleeping in the same room? What kind of care involves sharing a bed? I shouted hysterically. No, he was just helping me take my temperature. I had stomach issues and even vomited all over her. She just put on your clothes. It's not what you think. Zachary's explanation was cut off by Lynn sobbing. Rachel, don't you know? You've been on a business trip for almost a month, working overtime every day, and Zachary had a 39-degree fever with no one to care for him. Luckily, I came over to cook and found out, or he might have been in critical condition. I just want to know, did you sleep together? Neither of them said a word. How long have you been together? Still silent, then Lynn broke down crying, Rachel, I don't think this will affect you at all. I'm not asking for a title. I love Zachary, and I won't ask him to divorce for me. Please don't be angry. Zachary loves you, he just got confused. It does affect me, it affects me a lot. I think you're both filthy. Rachel, to be honest with you, I've always liked Zachary. I fell for him at first sight, that time at the restaurant, our first meeting. Maybe it's also because of how you always described Zachary to me, but I knew you liked him too, so I held back. Zachary didn't want to hurt you either. To keep you from finding out, we had to restrain ourselves. Besides, Zachary's true affection was always for me, otherwise, how could he have mistaken me? So, under the pretense of not wanting to hurt me, you deceived me. I looked at Zachary. Is what she says true? You've always loved Lynn? He didn't answer. You've been two-timing me all along? Rachel, no, it was only recently, when you weren't home, that we got close. After hearing their excuses, I went back to the living room. Seeing the breakfast on the table, I threw it straight into the trash. I went to the storage room to find a handbag, then to the master bedroom to grab my documents and jewelry, and returned to the door, where I saw the two of them. Here's your pajamas. Men, just wait. I grabbed my handbag, lifted the open suitcase, and stepped out of the house, entering the elevator. Zachary's voice came from behind. After moving out of the marital home, I rented a place near work. I didn't tell my parents about Zachary, mainly because I didn't know how to explain, my husband is with my best friend. Besides, I always felt that Lynn hurt me more than Zachary did 8 years of feelings. At the same time, I consulted a lawyer about the divorce. At work, because of the good results from the recent external assignment, my boss was very pleased. After returning, I was transferred from my original department from finance to the administrative department, responsible for budget management. When I left, I saw the look of jealousy on Lynn's face. It was a failure in love but a success in my career. For that, I really should thank Lynn. Without her advice, I wouldn't have known when those two would be found out in their affair. I cut off all contact with both of them. After being transferred at work, my meetings with Lynn became pitifully rare. At first, Zachary was still diligent in sending greetings, occasionally apologizing to me, saying he had been momentarily confused, but I ignored it all, and then there was nothing more. But none of that stopped Lynn from flaunting her affection with Zachary in front of me. She didn't delete the messages because I truly hadn't let go. Sometimes it was screenshots of their WeChat conversations, other times gifts Zachary had bought her, small things like a cup of milk tea. More shockingly, one night Lynn even sent me an indescribable voice message from their intimate moments. I couldn't understand why things had turned out this way. Why she seemed like a completely different person, and Zachary too. Even when I ran into Lynn at work, I ignored her, knowing that former colleagues couldn't understand. They would secretly ask if I had quarreled with Lynn. I didn't explain, just kept a blank expression. One noon, Lynn messaged me, asking if I was in the office, saying she had something to tell me. I didn't respond. Just before the afternoon shift started, Lynn swaggered into my department without knocking, pushed the door open, appeared beside my desk, and slammed down a pregnancy test report. Rachel, did you know that Zachary said your womb is like a patch of alkaline soil? Ha ha ha, it's been almost a year since you got married, and there's still no news. My advice is, if you're sensible, you should get a divorce quickly. Don't just hold on to the spot. What if the child ends up fatherless? Whispers spread among the colleagues nearby. Is Rachel's husband still with her? Who is she? So arrogant. Her name's Lynn. She used to be in the same department as Rachel. They were best friends, but now they've probably fallen out. The best friend is already pregnant. Are mistresses these days really this bold? No moral boundaries at all. Yeah, but the child is innocent, a life after all. You can't just have a baby without a father, it's so pitiful. If there's no love, then a divorce is definitely the right choice. I looked at my colleagues speechlessly. They fell silent. Lynn, you destroyed our 8 years of friendship over a man. That filthy man Rachel, won't have him. Of course I'm getting a divorce. I've already hired a lawyer. Please wait a little longer. The man Rachel, don't want, you're the one rushing to take. I should be congratulating you too. Finally, your efforts have paid off, all your hard work hasn't been in vain. But the divorce is between Zachary and me. I'll talk to him about it. For now, you just stay out of it. I picked up the pregnancy test report on the table. It boldly stated, intrauterine early pregnancy, approximately 6 weeks. Suddenly, a thought struck me. I approached Lynn and said mysteriously, does Zachary know you're pregnant? Did he not take precautions? Or did you use some trick? I think you should tell him soon, you might get an unexpected response. Rachel, what do you mean? Lynn, pregnancy is a good thing. Take good care of yourself. Congratulations. Take care now, no need to see you off. Everyone, let's disperse. Lynn stomped away angrily in her high heels. Lynn continued, as always, to flaunt her pregnancy to me, sharing the hardships throwing up today, craving sour things tomorrow. I, as always, ignored her, but I was certain she hadn't told Zachary about the pregnancy. Meanwhile, I hired a lawyer to handle the divorce. Although Zachary had cheated, the divorce was straightforward, and the property division went smoothly. I didn't want the house, he cashed it out to me. After all, his family was well off and generous with money. The day I got the divorce, I suddenly felt a sense of relief. Have you always liked each other? When did you start dating? It really was when you were on a business trip. One day she came to our house to cook, we had some drinks, and then, before that, we only chatted, nothing more. Goodbye, I wish you both happiness. Lynn knew Zachary had given me a large sum of money and was very upset. She didn't forget to call and scold me. Rachel, how can you be so shameless, taking Zachary's hard-earned money like that, so greedy, no wonder you don't have children. It's not your money, mind your own business. By the way, haven't you told Zachary you're pregnant yet? Want me to tell him for you? I don't need your fake kindness, humph. But I didn't block Lynn, because I simply wanted to watch the drama unfold, to be a spectator. I figured her baby should be about 12 weeks now, probably time to register and file the records, ha ha ha. The storm is about to hit. Monday morning, just about to start the morning meeting, the phone rang. It was Lynn's call, late but not too late. My colleagues hadn't arrived yet, so I answered in the conference room. Rachel, did you know all along? Why didn't you tell me? Do you realize you almost got me killed? Know what? You and Zachary are so close, practically in physical contact. What is there that you don't know? Do you know? The child and I are infected with the virus, do you know that? Rachel, I'm infected, why didn't you tell me? Why would I tell you? How was I supposed to know you two would sleep together without protection? You must have chosen not to use protection. You should blame Zachary, he didn't tell you. Why didn't you get infected? Because I'm a good person. And don't tell me about your future affairs. I'm divorced now, I don't care about your love life anymore. Then I blocked them both. Colleagues gradually entered the meeting room. One of them whispered to me, who got divorced? I replied casually, me. Sis, I'm single again, ha ha ha. They all knew to some extent about Zachary's affair because of the matter Lynn brought to me earlier. Sister, it's okay, let her have him. There are plenty of good men out there. Yes, plenty indeed. Not long after, I heard from colleagues that Lynn got married. Soon after, she had a miscarriage. Since it was conceived after drinking, her family worried about the consequences and decided not to keep the baby. I originally thought Lynn would leave Zachary. After all, it wasn't just Zachary who was infected in his family, the whole family was affected. His uncle already had ascites, and his grandfather had liver cancer. At first, they didn't know, but it was only after the grandfather fell ill that they found out. Plus, in his father's generation, premarital health checks weren't enforced, so Zachary's birth wasn't effectively prevented from infection. He was infected too. It was a hereditary family infection, and with Lynn, the entire family was infected. The reason I knew was because it was discovered during the premarital health check. I'm grateful to my parents for teaching me to always get a premarital check before marriage. When I found out, at first I was very angry that he had kept it from me, feeling like he had deceived me into marriage. But after such a long relationship, I wasn't without feelings. Impulsively, I chose to forgive him. He said he had been actively undergoing treatment, that his viral load was very low and not highly contagious. I went to the hospital to verify this, and indeed, he had been diligently receiving treatment. Afterwards, I also took the time to learn a lot online. Regarding pregnancy, we even went to the hospital to consult an infectious disease specialist, who told us that the probability of transmission from the man was very low but that regular checkups were necessary to monitor liver function and viral load. The woman should get vaccinated before trying to conceive, as studies show that a mother having sufficient surface antibodies can significantly reduce the risk of mother-to-child transmission. After marriage, I also got vaccinated again and regularly checked my antibody levels. Our married life was infrequent, and the few times we were intimate, we took precautions. Hoping for a healthy child, we planned to pursue IVF, aiming to conceive through a more scientific method. Lynn asked me why I hadn't told her. At the time, I was afraid she would advise me not to marry him. Who would have thought they would get involved with each other? I don't know if it was to gain status through the child, so they didn't use contraception. Zachary was usually very careful, but I had no idea they were constantly flirting. Setting aside the urge to help others, we must respect their fate. Besides, modern medical technology is quite advanced, and the impact isn't severe, it's just that this virus will accompany them for life. The year after the divorce, I was promoted to vice president at a branch company due to my excellent work performance, overseeing financial operations. Lynn was still in the same department. I heard she was quite happy, flaunting the bags and jewelry her husband bought her every now and then, gradually taking on the appearance of a wealthy woman. But no one had ever seen her husband. After all, our colleagues from the department where we got married had all left. Was she really happy? Of course, the three of us never met again. Time healed everything, and the scars left by the wounds would eventually be smoothed over. Happily, that year I met my husband. He was a professor who had returned from overseas, emotionally stable, and though only 2 years older than me, he had the demeanor of a mature man. We bonded over a shared love of badminton. At first, I played badminton just to pass the time, and my skills were pretty amateurish. Several times, my clumsy moves made him laugh. When I saw him laugh, I glared at him a few times, and then he took the initiative to come over and teach me. Suddenly, a handsome guy was teaching me, and he was very patient. Every time I went to the court, I paid special attention to him. We became badminton partners, playing together more frequently, chatting, sharing our lives. I found that when I was with him, I felt very comfortable and happy, and I became much more cheerful. I began to look forward to meeting him on the court, and gradually, I found myself developing a special feeling for him. But because of my past experiences, I was afraid to give my heart. So when he confessed to me, I told him about my first failed marriage. He didn't judge me or hesitate because of it. He firmly told me, the failure of your last marriage wasn't your failure. It's not because you're unworthy of love, but because that person wasn't worthy of your lifelong trust. Then, time and again, he patiently waited for me to take the first step, just like teaching me to play badminton calm and unhurried, with no awkwardness between us, only harmony. So when I stepped out, I felt it was important to enjoy the moment and seize happiness while I can, especially since my professor husband is so wonderful. Of course, I am very happy now. The baby in my belly even gave me a joyful kick. Wishing everyone a sweet and happy life.